Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take your source material, pull out all that essential knowledge, and basically hand you the key so you feel instantly well-informed.
And today we are wading into what is, I think, one of the most exciting, but also one of the most frustrating corners of tech right now.
We're talking about vibe coding.
It sounds so futuristic, doesn't it? It's this idea that you can just describe the software you want in plain English, your vibe, and a powerful AI will just build it for you effortlessly.
It's the ultimate promise, right? The democratization of development. Anyone with a good idea suddenly becomes a creator. But, and this is a huge but our sources drop this cold splash of reality on us almost immediately.
That dream has a terrible track record once you move beyond, a simple prototype.
A terrible track record is putting it mildly.
Absolutely. When projects get complex, when they need to scale and stay coherent, the failure rate for these AI-assisted vibe coding projects, it exceeds 80%.
80%. That's not a small bug. That is a systemic breakdown.
It's a crisis of wasted potential, really.
Exactly. And that monumental number is precisely what this new platform, EON VibeFlow from EON Reality, is designed to fix. So our mission in this deep dive is to understand the architecture, specifically something they call the Ping-Pong Protocol.
Right. The system that they claim eliminates these barriers and makes good on that promise. Your ideas shipped.
It's about reliability, but it seems like it's also about protecting human creativity, making sure that spark of inspiration doesn't just get bogged down and lost.
That's the core of it. Okay, so before we get to the solution, we really have to understand the chaos. Why are 4 out of 5 of these complex projects actually failing?
What are the big systemic issues? Let's start with the one that's all about memory. Because, without memory, you can't have coherence.
That's the first one, context fragmentation. So, popular AI systems like Replit Agent, they operate on a pretty short-term memory. Imagine you're describing your dream app. An hour ago, you set a really important rule, a core requirement. But the AI, for all its power, has basically forgotten that constraint already.
So you, the human, are forced to be the external hard drive. Is that it?
Exactly. You are constantly repeating yourself, reminding it, reestablishing the context over and over. And this effort leads directly to what the research calls coding drift.
So the project just sort of wanders off course.
It starts coherent, but it slowly drifts away from that original vision because the system just can't hold on to the big picture.
Okay, so that's memory fragmentation. The next problem sounds even more lethal. Hallucination without validation.
It is lethal to a project because it creates a false foundation. We've all heard about AI hallucinating. It just confidently makes things up. In this case, it generates code and claims it does something when it really doesn't.
So the AI will spit out some code and say, there, this handles all your user logins perfectly, but it's actually full of holes.
Precisely. And in that fragmented workflow, there's no built-in, rigorous way for a human to test that specific claim right then and there. You just move on. You start building the next feature on top of that shaky, hallucinated foundation.
And those little errors just compound until the whole thing collapses.
They compound exponentially. And that is a direct path to that 80+% failure rate.
Which brings us to the third problem. And this one feels maybe the most relatable, the most human. Flow state destruction.
This is where you really see the human cost. Vibe coding is supposed to feel effortless, but in reality, you're constantly fighting the AI's shortcomings, reformatting prompts, trying to retrieve that context it lost, debugging hallucinations it created.
It just completely shatters your concentration.
It does. And we've all felt that, right? You get interrupted, you look up from your screen, and it takes, 15, 20 minutes just to figure out where you were and get back into the zone.
That's exactly what's happening here, over and over again. Yeah. And the studies on this are, honestly, they're kind of heartbreaking for anyone who cares about productivity.
They are. The average recovery time to get back into that deep, productive flow state is, like you said, 15 to 30 minutes. If your whole workflow is built on these constant interruptions, you're spending your whole day just trying to recover, not actually creating.
But the flip side of that, that's the huge opportunity that EON VibeFlow is chasing. Because when you do manage to preserve that flow state, wow, the rewards are astronomical.
They really are the ultimate prize. There's a McKinsey study that found productivity just skyrockets. It increases by 500% when you're in a state of flow.
500%. And it's not just about speed, right?
No, not at all. University of Sydney research points to a 430% boost in creative problem solving. So if you can just get rid of the interruptions, you unlock this incredible human potential.
So the challenge is clear. Engineer a system that preserves context that validates its own claims, and most importantly, protects that creative flow. Which brings us to the solution, the Ping-Pong Protocol.
Right, this is their proprietary answer. It's a really disciplined, structured approach to AI collaboration. It's not about just, having an open-ended chat with an AI anymore.
So tell us about the setup. It's not just one giant AI model doing everything. It's more like an orchestrated team.
That's the critical insight. They use two different AI systems, each with its own specialty. They have Claude acting as the high-level architect, the visionary,
Okay.
and then they have Replit Agent as the specialized coder, the executor.
So why two? Why not just use one super powerful AI to do both?
Because they have different strengths. Claude is just much better at high-level reasoning, at holding a complex vision in its mind over a long conversation. Replit Agent is exceptional at the nitty-gritty of writing and debugging code in a specific contained environment.
But Replit Agent's memory is the bottleneck. That's what causes that context fragmentation we were talking about.
Exactly. On their own, they're limited. But the Ping-Pong Protocol unites them by bringing in a crucial third party, the human facilitator.
So the human isn't just a prompter anymore. They're an orchestrator.
An orchestrator who establishes what they call an external memory system. The protocol forces every decision, every piece of working code, every test result into this persistent memory that lives outside the AIs. It bridges that gap between Claude's grand vision and Replit Agent's focused execution.
This is where that ping-pong analogy really starts to click, isn't it? It's like a structured rally.
It is. Claude serves the high-level strategy. The human receives it and sets up a perfect, clean prompt. Replit Agent smashes the return. That's the functional code.
And the human validates that the point was won before the next serve.
Precisely. It solves the memory problem by making sure the context lives outside the limited AI. It forces structure. Like the EON Reality team says, it ensures this seamless, reliable loop between big ideas and accurate, validated code.
Okay, let's get into the action. How does this actually feel for a user? The sources break it down into 3 modes or capabilities.
Right, and these capabilities map directly to solving those 3 big problems we identified.
So we start with what they call architect mode. Claude is in charge here, and it's all about preserving that 500% flow state.
Exactly. In architect mode, the user just brings their creative vibe, their idea. And Claude doesn't immediately jump to coding. Instead, it acts like a real architect. It asks clarifying questions. It refines the ideas.
So the user just gets to stay in that fun, brainstorming, discovery phase.
Completely. They avoid all the tedious prompt engineering. Claude does that heavy lifting, making sure all the critical pieces are captured up front. And here's the key. The output of this mode is the big idea broken down into 5 to 7 discrete, manageable prompts.
So it's turning a giant, overwhelming project into a simple to-do list for the other AI.
That's the engineering secret. By creating these small, defined, manageable tasks, you completely sidestep the context fragmentation problem for the executor AI.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so the human defines the what. Claude defines the how many and what size. Once that architecture is solid, we move to execution mode. This is Replit Agent's time to shine.
Yes. Now, Replit Agent takes those perfectly structured prompts from Claude and just writes the code. But, and this is important, it has this serious reliability engine built in. To fight against AI hallucinations, it integrates something they call multi-hypothesis debugging.
Multi-hypothesis debugging. That sounds intense.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean for someone who isn't a coder?
Think of it like the AI running its own stress tests before it ever hands you the code. Instead of just generating one block of code and saying, done, it internally tries out 2 to 4 different ways of building it.
So it's basically asking itself, okay, if I build it this way, what might break? What if I try it that way?
You got it. It's this internal self-interrogation that weeds out inconsistencies and bugs before a human ever sees them. It dramatically improves the quality right out of the gate.
So that directly attacks the hallucination without validation problem by making the AI super self-critical.
Precisely. The system is designed not to trust its own first draft.
And that brings us to the final step, testing mode, where the human steps back in as the ultimate decider.
The accountability layer, the truth layer. This is where a human facilitator validates the AI's claim. They confirm that this small, discrete piece of code actually works as advertised before the protocol moves to the next prompt.
No work starts on piece number 2 until piece number 1 is certified functional by a person.
That's a discipline. It's collaborative, it's structured, and it's all focused on removing friction to keep that human creator in a state of flow.
It sounds like flow automation. Your energy is spent only on the high-value stuff, the big ideas and the final sign-off. Not all that tedious, busy work that kills creativity.
Exactly.
So let's bring this back to the user with the idea. The sources say this whole phased approach feels effortless.
It's designed to be. You start in that open, creative space of architect mode, just talking about your vision. Then the hard stuff gets handled automatically in execution mode.
Yep.
And finally, you just step in for quick, simple checks in testing mode to guarantee everything is stable.
So it really empowers someone who's not a coder to build something complex and meaningful without falling into that quicksand that causes that 80% failure rate. The user gets to stay focused on the vision.
That's the ultimate benefit, yeah. The chairman of EON Reality, Dan Lajerskar, he says this is a pivotal moment, that it empowers users to build these really robust applications without writing a single line of code.
It's redefining workflow automation. From that first spark of an idea all the way to a finished product you can actually ship. It makes good on the promise.
It does. By systematically tackling context fragmentation, unvalidated hallucinations, and flow state destruction, EON VibeFlow really does seem to unlock creativity and productivity at a huge scale.
Okay, so let's summarize this deep dive for you, the learner. We've looked at the crisis in complex AI development, that shocking 80% failure rate, which is driven by fractured memory and constant workflow interruptions.
And we've seen how EON VibeFlow's disciplined Ping-Pong Protocol seems to solve this by separating the visionary AI, Claude, from the execution AI, Replit Agent, and then wrapping it all in a human-validated external memory system.
The result is reliability. The ability to ship real, complex apps while dedicating your best mental energy to that creative vision that gives you that incredible 500% productivity boost. But I want to leave you with a final thought here, one that goes way beyond just software development. We've established that a single interruption can cost you up to 30 minutes of productive time.
And that getting the architecture right is the path to that 500% increase.
So if the cost of interruption is that immense, and the reward for structured architectural thinking is that great, how should you, as a knowledge worker, restructure your own environment, your own workflow?
How can you apply this idea of an external memory system or a structured architecture to your own life, even for non-coding projects?
Think about it. What's your personal ping-pong protocol? What system do you use to capture your big ideas, your personal Claude? And how do you break down the execution of those ideas, your personal Replit agent, into small, validated, disciplined steps?
So you're not losing 30 minutes of focus every time your attention gets pulled away.
It's the ultimate challenge, really. Optimizing your own human potential. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Until then.